Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Going to do a really cool instructional video today. Tons about the drop shot, everything about the drop shot, from the rod, the line, the reel, a lot of the baits, some of them old, some of them new, some new things I found. Looking forward to using a couple of them and have some of you guys comment and suggestion back. Summertime, drop shot, let's get it. All right, guys, as always, appreciate every single one of y'all being here. If it's your first time here, don't forget, bump that like, hit the subscribe, leave all your comments below, suggestions, anything y'all got. We all learn from each other. That is the great thing about YouTube and where we are today. First off, if you're here on this video, yes, it's summertime. Yes, we're up north. Yes, we're going to go over some smallmouth stuff. If you guys are down in the south, don't just turn off the video, dude. I have caught many giant fish on Wednesday nighters right out there at Thunderbird, which I promise you in the middle of Oklahoma is smoking hot this time of year. Putting that worm down there and catching 7 and 8 pounders, it happens. One Wednesday nighters with it. So this is not just a northern deal, this is also a southern deal. I'm going to go over the entire thing from leader line to braided line, the knot, the hook, the rod, the reel. So to start off, the rod that I prefer most up north is this 7'6" Expert. Falcon calls it the finesse jig rod. I like it because it's got a pretty soft tip to it. It's got a lot of bend. My line's wrapped around my rod right now. There we go. Now I've got my drop shot wrapped around my rod, but it's got a really soft tip because up here I'm generally using lighter line, 8-pound test, and even at home I'm probably only using 10 on the largemouth and more of the stained water. And I'll even go down to 8 there as well. Down in the south, I'm probably using a worm, any of the long, thin, robo style, flat-tailed worms in the 6-inch is usually what I'm using on largemouth. Spotted bass things start to change. I may go to a minnow type worm or whatever. And we'll get into baits more here in a little bit to be more specific. But right now, this is my main rod that I use up in the Northland country on the big open water. While we're sitting here talking, my favorite rod in the south is without a doubt this Clair 7-footer. It is a little bit shorter, a little bit stiffer. And like I say, I probably use a 10-pound test line more in the south on some of those fish, especially places that I know that have 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 pounders in them. The drop shot is killer for them in the summertime. But this is a Clair CS 417. It's probably my best favorite spinning rod all around. Like if you want a top quality, last you a long time spinning rod, you cannot go wrong with this one. Shaky heads, skipping docks, long cast, rock fishing, however you want to use it. But for the drop shot down south, this is definitely my go-to rod. Reels, this is the Vanford. Shimano, I like the 3000 model. The 2500 is just a little bit smaller spool. They're the exact same size reel. The big thing for me with the Vanfords is, and I'm not sponsored by Shimano or anything, but the big thing for me with them is the drag systems in them are so silky smooth. And with this light line on big fish, smallmouth and largemouth, doesn't matter either or, the drag is really critical. And you can get by. I fished for many years with reels that a little bit cheaper than these. I think you get by with them fine. The more you go up in price, I think the biggest thing that you're probably improving there is drag. Another big thing for me with this Vanford is the gear ratio on reels. Spinning reels for me have always felt slow. I like the line pickup on this. I don't know exactly what the numbers are on it, but it is a faster line pickup on gear ratio. Like it's a lot faster. I like that. So that's a big part of the reel is the drag system and the line speed for the gear ratios pickup. All right, so on the spinning reel, the braid, let's go to that and talk about it. This is D-Braid by Sunline. It's pink, it's easy to see, it's bright as it can be. In my hand is a new product that they have, and if you can get the close-up of that, that's metered line. See how it's bright green and dark green? You've got about 3 foot of dark green, and then along 5, 6, 8 foot of dark green, and then the bright green again, and then a metered line of the dark green. So 3 foot smaller sections of the less visible. The reason that they do that is because most of it is high vis, just like this pink is. I'm going to put a fluorocarbon leader on it, so it's not going to matter. This is actually a brand new product out just this year from Sunline. It's called Overwatch. It's actually specifically designed, it's an 8-strand braid designed specifically for spinning reels. This stuff is silky smooth. Pound test for me personally, and this is a big deal, I stayed somewhere between the 15-pound test down to the 12-pound test with Sunline. Now, depending on whatever braid that you buy or whatever braid you prefer, watch it, because the braid companies all have different diameters for their line size, so can't just go off pound test. So what I'm telling you with Sunline being 12 to 15, which is exactly what I like, it might be a different diameter in a different braid, so pay attention to that. The knot going to the fluorocarbon, since we're covering everything, I am thoroughly convinced I have one of the fastest, most efficient ways to tie the FG knot. If it's something that you guys have been putting off because you hear about how hard it is, how tough it is, I know I was the same way for the first few months, and then I spent some time working on it. I have a system down that works for me extremely, extremely well. I'll show it to you in this video really quick. It is, we'll even time it. We'll time it and see how long it takes to tie this knot, but I'm pretty quick with it, and it works time and time again, and it is by far the best knot that I've used with spinning rods to this day. Okay, here we go, fast. Braid on the end of it, loop knot. All I'm doing is just doubling the line over, pulling the knot through like that, and making double end. I do like to cut that tag end off because for later purposes, it gets in the way whenever I'm tying the rest of the end up with this FG at the end. I like to hook this on my bait keeper, on my Falcon, and leave about that much slack. It's just enough slack that it's just kind of laying limp. Grab your fluorocarbon that you're going to use. This one's 10 for the knot purposes, so you can see it a little bit better. I want about, I don't know, 18 inches or so coming out the end. I wrap it around my middle finger multiple times. Grab my braid, place my fingers right there, and go over the top to the front of the rod tip and to the back. That's one time. And then you pull. On everything, you have to keep all 3 points of contact tight. That's why I've got the rod underneath my lap, and it works so well sitting in the boat. That's 3, 4, I'm gonna go 13 times, seem to be the magic number for me. That's 6, 7, and each time I'm pulling it tight, all 3 points of contact. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, started coughing guys, sorry. 13, and when I get to this point, I'm gonna pull my fluorocarbon up towards my rod tip and pinch it, give myself a little bit of slack. Take my braid off my rod, make one loop knot around both lines, pull it down. I'm just tying a granny knot right over the top of both of them. And that's 2 times. I'm going to clip that braid fluorocarbon off, and you can clip it short. You don't have to leave it long at all. You can clip it as close as you want to. And then we're going to finish it off with 2 more knots right on top, and you're going to be done with this knot. When you trim this braid, you can leave it a little bit long. It's not going to hurt anything. It'll come through the guides, it'll throw, and then you can shorten it a little bit more as you go down the line. But that's it. So now I can wrap both in there, pull them tight, and it's rock solid and ready to set to go. That one's a little bit black if you look at that knot close, because my fingers and hands are dirty from just cleaning the boat. Nothing like scrubbing wheels and then you got grubby fingers. But that's it. So then I'm gonna reel this up, and I'm gonna reel that knot up into my spool because this thing casts well. And oh, wow, 2 minutes and 51 seconds.
And that's still 30 seconds to talk.
So we're probably somewhere around 2 minutes and 35, 40 seconds. Point being, I can tie that knot extremely, extremely fast. I've worked on a lot of different ways to tie that knot. I've seen guys got their toes out there holding it and everything else. That system works the very best for me. It's fast, it's easy, and it is by far the best knot that I've used. Leader line, a lot of guys have different opinions on this. Some of the guys up north like them really, really long. Probably so in the clear water. Down in the south, you know, 7, 8, 9 foot. I mean, you don't need that much, but this knot allows you to make your leader as long as possible that you want. But the thing with the drop shot is, especially if you're nose hooking, You're getting a lot of spin out of your bait every time you reel it up. And the fluorocarbon twists. It's the whole sense of the braid. So for you guys, if you just went straight fluorocarbon, you'd have lots and lots and lots of line twists. The braid keeps that from happening and makes the reel and the rod much more manageable throughout the day. The braid is a big, big part of the spinning reel. I think all of us are using it now, from north to south, east to west. It's by far the best system. But you got to get your knot down. FG tied like that, I like it. All right, let's clip it. I do like the nose hook a lot. It gives a lot of freedom to your bait to swing. I use a number 1, not a 1/0, but a number 1 Gamakatsu. Number 1 Gamakatsu drop shot, split shot hook. This has by far been the most successful for me. I will put all of the links down below to Tackle Warehouse if you guys want to go there and click on them and see them and view them. Anything we talk about in this video, we will. Tungsten weight, doesn't matter to me if you use tungsten or lead. I like the tungstens from Omega because they've got all of the sizes that stay on them and the paint stays on them, and I can just reach in the box and I know if I'm throwing a 3/8, a 1/4 ounce, or whatever size. Weight size, I would say that a 1/4 ounce is probably my most all around. I use it up north, I use it down south. A lot of it depends on the depth that I'm fishing. Probably the 3/8 to 1/4 are my 2 favorites. If I'm over 10 foot, I generally prefer something a little bit heavier, but you kind of got to see what the fish are liking. Sometimes they do like a slower fall. Maybe the smallmouth are chasing and coming up high to get it, and you want it to fall a little slower, or maybe you want it to fall a little faster to make them make up their mind. The largemouth down south, I probably tend to use a lighter, the 1/4 ounce, even maybe in that 12 to 15 range, around brush piles and rock piles and things like that. Really good setup. Drop shot, nose hook. The other way the guys are rigging them now with some of the bigger baits is you're seeing a lot of guys start to thread these on a straight shank hook just like that. And that's just a 1/0 straight shank, Gamakatsu, easy peasy. This bait is actually, we'll get into baits in a minute. This is a bait that I just found today actually, and pretty cool bait. We'll get into that. But so that's one way to rig it as opposed to the nose hook. It just kind of gives your bait a little more stand-up fish with a larger bait or a minnow type bait like either of these. The other thing about it is a lot of these plastics are Aztec, and man, you can pretty much catch a fish and straighten your worm just a little bit and throw it right back out there. Whereas with the nose hook, you're probably going to lose your bait, especially with smallmouth. They're going to come up and throw it. The worm down south, like I said, I'm using the long. I don't have one here, laying here next to me, but I do like the Robo style worms. We have some at Big Bite. Every company makes them. The flat tail, long, skinny worm. 6 inches is usually my go-to length, and with the large mouth. Sometimes I'll Texas rig that on a 1/0, but preferably if I can get away with it, back to that same little bitty 1/0 hook, or number 1 hook, that number 1 Gamakatsu drop shot hook. That sucker tends to stick them. What'd I do with it? This one right here. It's largemouth, spotted bass, all of them. I know it looks small and tiny, but you've already got light line with a very light, sensitive rod. Take your time and you'll land them. It stays stuck. Let's get into baits. This is primarily largemouth because I'm in New York. No, I'm in Michigan. So we're gonna go over some baits. Let's go over the new one that I found. Let's start with it, the Elastec. I'm really excited about using this bait because look at the flat tail on that thing. I mean, that's a really, really good looking little bait with the ribs. Elastec, it's gonna float. This is actually made by Northland. It's called Eye Candy. It's actually a really good name for it because it caught my eye. Looking forward to trying these. I think that there may be some future with that. Obviously, the power baits, the flatworms, you guys, and the flat nose minnows, you guys are plenty aware of. Been catching lots of smallmouth for many years now on this thing. It came out after the gulp. Same thing at Big Bite. We have sensation baits. I used these all last week. They're phenomenal. They got a lot of scent to them. We got lots of different variations of sizes and colors. This particular one in my hand is the Sensation Smasher 35 in green pumpkin, because you can never go wrong with green pumpkin. Perch dinner. Like I said, we've got many colors, sizes. We've got so many different things with Sensation baits right now, including the worms that I'm talking about for largemouth down south. We make those in Sensation as well. Z-Man, the Elastec seems to be, because it floats, seems to be pretty popular right now with the drop shot. Lots of guys using them. This particular one is the Jerk Shad Z, and the color, the deal. I like it. I like the size and profile for smallmouth. It's a good looking bait, no doubt about it. Like I said, Elastec will last you a little longer, maybe especially if you thread it onto your hook on a straight shank. You probably keep that hooked up a little bit longer. All right, guys, that pretty much does it in baits. Like I said, I'm up north, so I pretty much got a lot of smallmouth in here with me. We tied the FG knot in 2.5 minutes. If there's other baits or suggestions that you guys like on the drop shot more so, or something that I left out or forgot, or maybe I'm unaware of, I don't know. Leave comments below. Like I said, we all learn from each other. Crazy about this rod. The whole setup has worked for me. It's a good setup. It could work for you. It's pretty simple. Don't overcomplicate the drop shot. Definitely don't overcomplicate the FG knot. And guys, until next time, I'm out of here. Thank you.